We on? Hey, we're on. Hi, everybody. This is the June 1st, 2026. It's the Zazoo Plazz report with Leslie Plazic. Doesn't it look like R2D2? And me and my Yeti. I keep thinking, whenever I say Yeti, I keep thinking of the abominable snowman in Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. Yeah, my report's a day late today because I spent Saturday night into Sunday researching and ordering this. My son, my oldest son, the computer guy, he was over on Mother's Day and I said, hey, do you have any recommendations for me to get a new microphone? He says, oh, get the Yeti, get a Yeti Blue. So that's what this is. This is show and tell today, folks. Doesn't it look like R2D2? Anyway. Okay, so it should be working now. We got a few kinks to work out, folks. I wonder how long it was mute. Oh, well. I can always cut it out. Anyway, I was talking about, my black table that I'm doing this on. It's kind of like, it's one of those like padded plastic tables. For the past couple of years, I've had it since I moved in, before I had my dining table. So I've been using it. It's been holding all my boxes of photos and stuff. And I said, you know what? This is it. This is my sign. I'm going to clear out all those photos. Most of them have been scanned, but there's a few. I've been doing a few every day, with my Facebook posts. And now I'm like, okay, you know what? I really like the way the light comes in without all that crap blocking it in my bedroom. So I said, no, this could be a real kick in the butt from the universe. So we'll see. We'll see. Yeah. So here we go. Let's see. So I got that. This is nice. I can sit here and talk. I'm not hunched over. It's nice. So yeah. So not only did I buy this, I bought the. My boys are making fun of me. Mom wants to get one of those floor mics, like singers use. But I said, no, it's good because I can move it around. I can have it on the floor, and it's going to come over like this, so I don't have to worry if I'm bent over this thing. I can have it like this if I want, or I don't have to clip it to my desk. If I want to record from my desk, I can just put it on the floor and angle it over. So I did. So I got that. I got myself a couple little presents, and then yeah, and then I got myself one of these. My kid, I don't know if you can see. I can turn the thing. There's a couple of, see the little tomato plants there? I'm getting ready to move them outside, because it's getting warmer out, but, not quite yet. So I'm trying to get them in the sun, but I don't get much sun. I get a little in the morning, and then in the afternoon, it's back there. So I got they have these like tomato planters. You put them together, and there's a bottom part. And I got some soil. It's called Happy Frog tomato planting soil. It's special. So I said, the kid gave me 2 tomato plants. He probably paid like $1 for them. I don't know. I got them out of his backyard at the farm. And then I had to go out and buy $68 worth of stuff. Between the soil and the little, it's like a plastic planter with wheels. And as it grows, you can add more, like, it's like a cage, you add more levels. And then you can like attach the tomato vines to the side. And then I can fit it on my deck out here, on my porch. Not even a deck, it's just a slab of concrete. I figure then I can roll it around to get it in the sun, and I'll have tomatoes, like little cherry tomatoes this summer. So I did that. So that was something I kind of did. I hear from my ex that the the white roses are blooming on the side of our garage. When we moved in the house, shortly after, a couple years after we moved in, um, his his cousin gave us a little clipping from the Plazic family rose bush, which had been at his aunt's house, his cousin's mom's house up in West Hartford. So it's an heirloom, like beautiful white rose bush. But so each cousin or whatever in the family, I guess, must have, gotten a clipping. So we planted it and it just spread. And, every year it just got bigger and bigger. I found a picture of our son, our oldest son, sitting out by the little tiny rose. It wasn't that big. It was fairly big when he was a baby. But then when he turned let's see. So he was about 6 months in June of 2001. We planted a nice pear tree, and there's this picture of him, just a little baby, his feet barely reach the edge of the plastic chair, and he's sitting next to this little tiny pear tree. And then, the thing's huge now, and he's well over 6 feet. So I'm gonna put a picture on my Facebook page to show, how. So that's a good thing. If you have kids or you know someone who has kids, who's having a kid this spring, like my cousin's daughter, give them a little tree or a little bush. We planted a fiery, like a dogwood bush by the shed for our second son. And that's in the fall, it turns this bright, fiery red, which is perfect because he's an Aries, So we did that. So, you could give somebody a little tree, to plant when their kid is born and then see how it grows, every year. Doesn't have to be a tree. It could be, a bush or a flowering plant, something that comes back every year, perennial. I think that's a cool idea. It's good for the environment, and it'll give you a story, and then every year you can take a picture of the kid on their birthday, in front of the tree. It's kind of neat. Anyway, that's your free Zazoo tip for the day. So the sun, we just had a blue moon last night where sun's in Gemini. Let's see, 11 degrees. Let's see, Gemini. Oh, Uranus. Yeah. So Sun and Uranus are trine to Pluto. So that's interesting today. And Mercury, Venus, and Jupiter are all in Cancer. So that, then we have Aries, Saturn, Neptune, Aries. So that's interesting that Sun and Uranus are trine to Pluto. So that's one. Anyway, I'm not going to do. I'm more focused on the Gemini energy. It's 11 degrees of Gemini, 11. That's funny. So I've started focusing on the Sabian symbols more in my daily Facebook post. And I do like events of the day and celebrities, birthdays, and I tie it all together with, little stories of mine. I do a story, several stories, and I put pictures and things, and it's kind of fun, because it gives me a way to sort of gauge the energy of the day and sort of relate it, to events and people and history. And it's a very Gemini thing. My North Node is in Gemini. Right now is my North Node. Sun's on my North Node, which is kind of where you want to go, opposite. And my Mercury is conjunct my South Node. So I've got, right now the Sun's opposite, it's opposite my Mercury. So, I'm trying to, bring forward my gifts, my speaking and my writing and all that, and bring it forward, and try to develop it more. So this is, every day I do a little something. So it's Trinity I'm going to do the readings for yesterday, which was Holy Trinity Sunday. And we've got, Moses going up to the mountain, Mount Sinai. Fun fact, I was born in Hartford, Connecticut at Mount Sinai Hospital. I don't think it's I don't think they have a maternity like section there. I don't know if they like. I think they have a special thing there now. I don't know if it's a real hospital, like it used to be. Now it's mostly babies. I had my boys at Hartford Hospital, and then there's St. Francis. Those are the two main ones in Hartford. And then there's one in, east of the river, a couple east of the river. But my parents, that was where my mother's doctor was. So we were Catholic. We went to Mount Sinai. Interesting. Yeah. So, Moses goes up the mountain with his 2 stone tablets. That's kind of Gemini, right? The twins. And as God commanded him, he's following directions. He's going up there. And God comes down, in the cloud. Now, kids, they're still playing with tablets and clouds today, but they're different ones. You get it? Never mind. This is not that kind of cloud. It's the kind of cloud that they have outside. If you step outside, you'll see those clouds. That's the kind of cloud you find God in. Maybe he's in the other cloud too. I don't whatever. But not when Moses was alive. You know what I mean. So God comes down, says, he says, hi, I'm God. I'm mercy. He said, I'm really pretty cool. You get to know me. I'm pretty merciful. I'm slow to anger, and kind. I can be faithful and kind. Just give me a chance. And so Moses bows down and worship and he says, hey God, if you find favor with me, can you come along with us? Because he said, we got a stiff-necked people down here. They're, if you could pardon their sins and, give them a break, and receive them as your own, I'd really appreciate it. So he says, okay. So, here he is making a deal with God. Now, if you know any Geminis, they like to make deals, right? We know someone who's a Gemini who likes to make deals. I bet we all do. Anyway, we're still on. Good. Anyway, moving on. So Book of Daniel 3. 3 is the number. The third house is communications and short trips. I have 3 planets, personal planets, in my third house of communication in Sag, which is where the moon was. The moon was is conjunct my Venus and Mars, actually. So Daniel says, glory and praise forever. So, he's talking about, I guess Psalm. He's saying that God is, high up, exalted over everything. He's up in his holy temple in, glory. He's on his throne and he's looking down upon his cherubim. Angels are kind of, they're kind of anything the air, right? We get this picture of up in the air, right? Gemini's an air sign. It's the most mutable air. It's movable, right? It's not fixed. Unlike the people who were stiff-necked. In other words, they're not, they're not willing to bend. They're not willing to, they're proud, right? Stiff-necked. You're kind of, you're up here. You're not, looking within. You're kind of set in your ways, right? So that's the way I see it. And then 2 Corinthians, Paul is telling his brothers and sisters to rejoice and mend your ways, right? He's like the teacher, right? Gemini. He's sort of he's up on, he's saying, humble yourselves a little, mend your ways, work on yourself, agree with each other more, don't debate so much. Gemini is, get along, be peaceful, right? See the other side. He says, live in peace. And he said, then the God who is love and peace will be with you, right? And he says, greet each other with a holy kiss. So it's funny because today, June 1st, is Game Show Day, National Game Show Day. And all I can think about is Richard Dawson on The Family Feud, how he used to kiss all the women. Like he put his arm around the guys. He was always kissing the women on the lips. And I used to gross me. I was like, why is he doing that? His show definitely wouldn't have lasted through the pandemic. And you 70s kids, you remember Richard Dawson. Now, who's the guy who does it now? The comedian. He's good too. But back in the 70s, 80s, it was Richard Dawson. He started out on Match Game with Gene Rayburn. Oh, and then there was Let's Make a Deal, right? The show where you had to pick, people came in costume and they had to pick what's behind door number 1, 2, or 3. And the guy would say, you could take, you had to choose a door, and sometimes they'd pick a door and there'd be a goat. And then, sometimes it'd be like a new washer dryer or something. It was pretty funny. People used to wear costumes. Okay, kids, this is the kind of stuff we grew up watching. We, of my generation, Generation X. This is what we used to watch. Anyway, it was fun. Where was I? Oh. All right, Diallo. Yeah, so it's Trinity Sunday. And that's about, the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. The Father, one who is, who was, and who is to come. So that, that's kind of the mystery. The Catholics were, when you're a kid, you're trying to wrap your head around it. It's very, it's it's all about the mind. Gemini, it's like birds on the wire, gossip. Trying to wrap your head around the Trinity, But now I understand it a little bit better. You think of that shamrock. Shamrock was St. Patrick, I guess, used to, explain it to people that way. I'd say, so gospel is John 3. Once again with the threes. Yeah, John 3, Daniel 3. It's a Trinity. Okay. 3 is the number of the Trinity. He says, he's talking about, it's really about kindness, Today is also to say something nice to people day, He said God didn't send Jesus, his only son, to condemn, just to, pick him, but to save it, right? So he said, if you believe in Jesus, then you won't perish, right? You'll have eternal life. But if you don't believe, you're already condemned. In other words, there's you almost have to get beyond your ego, right? Get beyond yourself and trust in, the signals that God sends you, like Moses. In other words, God was talking to him and he went along, right? He went up to the mountain. I started seeing videos this morning. I usually watch YouTube a little bit to wake up. And I kept getting all these videos of like people who climbed Mount Everest for some reason. Some lady climbed Mount Everest. She was a real Karen, and she was, or they go up, they go into the Grand Canyon and they don't listen to people. The guide, there's some guy who's the tour guide, right? But they don't listen to them. And then they end up dying of heat exhaustion because they think, oh, I'm a doctor or whatever. I know what I'm doing. I've climbed so many mountains. And then those are the people, they end up finding on the trail, because they can't get over themselves, right? There she goes. Damn it, that woman. She always comes, right, whenever I do my report. No, she's out with her dog. Okay. Yeah, so the thing is, you have to be able to humble yourself, right? Leave yourself, and if God is sending you a message through somebody, who's like trying to tell you something. So God doesn't mean to criticize you, but rather to help you, right? So I think that's a good illustration. If, like there was this woman, she went on the hiking tour, the Grand Canyon, and the tour guide inspected her water pack, and said, "Oh, it's worn out. You got to get a new, tube." And she said, "Nah, I know what I'm doing. I'm a nurse. I've got plenty of hydration." Yeah, well, it wore out, and she couldn't get the water, and because she was dehydrated, she had a pack of water in her back, but she didn't know enough. At that point, she was out of it. She couldn't get her, water out of her back. And these things really happen. So this is what it's talking about here in the gospel. If you're going to go climb a mountain, leave your ego at the bottom, just, it's a good thing. Anyway, so song of today. Thank You by Alanis Morissette, who turns 52 today. It's her 52nd birthday. She's born in 1974. So I found a video of her singing this at Woodstock 99. She was about 25, I guess. This single was released October 12th of 98, alt rock pop, from her fourth album, supposed former infatuation junkie. It was the one, I guess, she wrote it with the guy Glenn Ballard, who was her producer on Jagged Little Pill, which was the album before that one. And she wrote it after a trip to India in 1997. And so this one, she wrote it in 97. It was released in 98. And she said she had been going and going and going, which is, typical for a Gemini. But she said she finally took a year and a half or so off. What's going on with my socks? Something stuck on my sock here. She took a year and a half off to go to India. So one of the lyrics in the song is "Thank you, India," right? So the song is basically all this gratitude. She said her trip to India filled her with gratitude, love, and she was flying on the cloud with the unicorns, and she was inspired to write this song after her trip. So it's kind of like a self-help thing, but it's kind of like where in Paul and the Corinthians, where he's saying, "Mend your ways, live in peace," right? And Moses saying, the people, they're not perfect, but, if they work on it, then they can be your people. So this is kind of what she's saying is, in the song, she's telling people, why not do this? Why not, be in the moment for a change? Why not be nice to each other? Why not stop taking all these antibiotics and be good to your body, be good to each other? And one after another, she lists all these things. And so that's to me that was kind of the spirit of the readings today. It says somebody did a review of this song, and they said about her, not many artists or people in general take time to acknowledge and pay tribute to life's lessons, which, is what she's doing, saying, look, I've done all these things. I've learned all this stuff. And, here's what I've learned. And I'm not perfect, but thank you. Thank you for these lessons, right? On her path, on her spiritual path. She's, and because those are the things that help you grow, right? Not when everything goes right, when everything goes wrong. And there's a fly in your Chardonnay. This is the GenX story, right? The good advice that you just can't take. It's the death row pardon, 2 minutes too late. You know what I mean? You know that song. Isn't it ironic? Okay, don't you think? So that one, this song, thank you, got to number 17 in December 5th of 98 on the Billboard Hot 100. And so if you watch the video, suck. I got a splinter in my sock. What's going on? Oh, it's part of the sock. Get that. Oh, it's one of those little, oh, damn it. Those little price tag thingies. Oh boy. Oh, yeah. Get out of there. It's one of those little price tag thingies that was in my sock. Okay. Look at my Yeti box. Look at this thing. Wow. They're not sponsoring me or anything, but whatever. Hopefully this comes out okay. Hopefully you can hear me. Yeah, so in the video, she's butt naked. She's got the hair down. They blurred everything out, so don't worry. But people are just coming up to her and touching her and hugging her. And she's on the subway naked. Yeah. But she said it occurred to her in the shower, which is where I get my best ideas, that it was the simplicity of it, bearing all in places where you would normally be very closed off, right? On the street, New York City, right in the subway. I mean, that's where most people feel most vulnerable, right? But she's just like out in the open, Weird Al did this parody. Somebody called on a show and asked Weird Al if he would do a parody of the song, and he did one called Fast Food. So I'm going to put that link because I was curious. That's Gemini. I was curious if there was a video, and sure enough, there's one of him doing in a concert, doing part of it. It's just enough to get a flavor. Anyway, okay. Yeah, so that's all I have for today. And I'm so hungry. So I ordered my cashew butter that I have on my rice cake with my, I usually have after my Zazoo report, but it's not coming till Friday because I guess they ran out or back ordered or whatever. And I ordered, so now I'm going to order it before I run out. Well, guess who's back? Yeah, so I might have to either have trail mix today with cashew. Oh, I ran out of cashews. Or I might have to have almond butter. She's back. Okay, so I'm going to get out of here. I'm so hungry. And then I got to run to do laundry and go to the grocery store. And hopefully I get it all done. Whatever. Okay, so, yeah, hopefully this came out. You can hear me. Take care. Make it a good week. And, yeah, be good to yourself. Be good to other people. We're all just human after all. So I'll be back next week, same place, different time. Take care.